We have been in a series called Put Down Your Sword. Put down your sword. We've looked at several different things. We've looked at carrying an offense. We've looked at the question, am I my brother's keeper? By the way, the answer is yes, you are. We've looked at loving our enemies. We've looked at the frenzy of following the crowd. We talked about spiritual pride. This morning, we're going to be in 1 Samuel 25, if you want to turn there, and we're going to talk about words. And I've entitled this morning's message, Speak to the King, Not the Fool. Speak to the King, not the fool. Have you ever said something, and as soon as you said it, you immediately regretted saying it? The other day, Steph was she was having a rough week. It was not only a busy week, but it was also a week where she was, struggling with some health things, and it was she was exhausted. And just gonna let you peek behind the curtains into the Haney home for a moment. But sometimes I say some really stupid things. And I, in that moment, thought the timing was so perfect and appropriate to ask her when she was going to do the dishes. Yeah, men, I do not suggest this at all. So over the course of the next 2 hours, I'm eating a fair share of humble pie. Yesterday the Costa Rica team made 150 apple pies. By the way, there'll be some available afterwards if you guys want to buy some. But I ate a lot of humble pie in the course of that little comment. And it was so out of place and so unnecessary, and the timing was so bad. But nonetheless, I put my foot in my mouth. And you know how you just want to reach out and grab those words and then pull them back into your mouth? Because here's the truth. Words do not disappear. They land. They land in hearts. They land in minds. They land in memories. They land. And whoever said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me was one of the biggest liars ever. How many of you have been deeply hurt by words? I have. They land, and they take anchor. And these can be spoken words. They can be written words. They could be typed words, but they land. And they land and they lodge. It says in Proverbs 18:21, life and death are in the power of the tongue. And you either poison or you plant, one of the two. You either destroy or you develop. You do one or the other. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And I want to talk about a person by the name of David in the Old Testament, very popular guy. You might know him as King David. But before he was king, actually he was on the run. He was, let's just say, God anointed him to be king, but he was not king yet. There was still King Saul. And David started developing a very good reputation. They would sing, Saul killed his hundreds, David his thousands. They started comparing Saul and David seemed to be polling a little higher than Saul, and Saul did not like that. And so Saul sought to kill David. So David is now on the run. He is moving from cave to cave, wilderness to wilderness, even encamping with the enemy just to hide from Saul, because Saul wants to kill him. And in the course of this time, there's a man by the name of Nabal he's a wealthy man. has lots of property and lots of sheep. And Nabal, his name in the Hebrew is fool. I mean, I don't know who would want to name their kid fool, but whenever the Bible literally names them fool, it's probably a good idea to pay attention. Take some notes. So here's Nabal. He's got a lot of wealth, a lot of sheep, a lot of shepherds, a lot of staff. And David shows up on the scene, and Nabal's shepherds and his sheep are out in the pastures. And David shows up, and he's been running. He's got 600 or so men with him. It says that all the discontent, all those who were in debt, all those who were in distress found David. Is it who everyone want? That's who you want for your army, but that's who found David. And over the course of time, he developed this motley crew into amazing warriors and leaders. But they were on the run, probably hungry, probably tired, probably exhausted, probably fearful. But they end up with Nabal's sheep and shepherds. And they protect them while they're there. Apparently, whether it was animals or whether it was people that wanted to steal the sheep, robbers, thieves, they protected the sheep. And they did good to the shepherds. They took care of them. And so David sent some of his men, messengers, to go to Nabal and say, hey, Nabal, we've taken care of your shepherds and protected your sheep. Can you spare some food? Let's read about it. 1 Samuel 25, verse 7. Now I hear that it is a sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore, be favorable to my men, since we come at a festive time. Please give your servants and your son David whatever you can find for them. He's not asking for a feast. His heart really is not even for himself, it's for his men. Just whatever you have to spare. Would you please find it in your heart to give us some food? Well, Nabal responds, but he doesn't respond with gratitude for the protection that was offered or doing good to his shepherds. He doesn't respond with, let me pray about it. He responds rather with harsh words. Who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Yeah, he's breaking away from his master. No, his master is literally hunting him down to kill him. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shears and give it to men coming from who knows where? Translation, not on your life. So here's Nabal, has all the wealth, all the people, all the staff, all the sheep, all the land. David's just looking to be fed. Now, in the near Middle East, you have to understand that, especially in this time, hospitality was high on the list of things that you always did. And so he not only dismissed David's request, but he publicly insulted him. This was not something you did to someone that was a stranger, a foreigner, a neighbor. Certainly not someone that had just protected your sheep. But he denied him that. He denied him simple hospitality. And some people don't need swords, they stab with their sentences. And David is ready to kill him. Not negotiate, not let's seek some counsel on this. No, he's ready to kill him. Stick a fork in him, you're done. The curtain closes. It's the end of the line. It's over. So here's what it says in 1 Samuel 25, 12 and 13. David's men turned around and went back. And when they arrived, they reported every word. So David said to his men, each of you strap on your sword. So they did. And David strapped his sword on as well. What's the title of our series? Put down your sword. Just a reminder. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Now, David is on his way to kill Nabal and probably his household. He's fed up. He's mad. He's been humiliated. He's already being hunted. He's on his way. But then Nabal's wife hears what happened. Her name is Abigail. And she steps in. And where Nabal used reckless words, Abigail used redemptive words. Let's see what she says. Talking to David, please forgive your servant's presumption. The Lord your God will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my Lord. Because you fight the Lord's battles and no wrongdoing will be found in you as long as you live, even though someone is pursuing you to take your life. The life of my Lord will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. My Lord will not have, one more. My Lord will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or of having avenged himself. Abigail speaks redemptive words. Nabal spoke destructive words. Abigail steps in quickly to disarm a situation where David is ready to kill Nabal and his household. She speaks life into David. Well, how does she do that? Number one, she honors him. My Lord, she calls him. Not capital L, lowercase Lord, but she uses a title that gives him honor. When you speak, do you speak to people with honor? Giving them honor? Or are they just a label? Or are they just an enemy? Or are they just on the other side? Are your words honorable? Hers were. She called him my Lord. Not only that, she gave him hope. The Lord will surely establish a lasting dynasty for you. Now, think about it. Where's David been? Where's he been currently? In the cave? On the run? In the wilderness? Being hunted? And what does she say? No. The Lord will establish a dynasty for you. She speaks hope into his life. She honors him and she speaks hope. And then she has the good sense to look at the horizon of his life, the future. When God makes you king, you will not carry this regret. You see, she knows that one day he's going to be king. Maybe he's forgotten, but she hasn't. She believes in him. See, Abigail speaks to the hope, to the monarch, not the murder, to the king, not the killer, to the crown, not the chaos. That's who she's speaking to. to the king, not to the fool. She's speaking to his higher self, the one that God's called him to. And she's saying, you will be king one day. You will have a dynasty. And do you want this bloodshed on your hand? She honors him. She speaks hope into his life. And she looks at the horizon and believes the best about what is in store for him. She sees the future. And wise people, they don't just speak to the present, but they speak to the potential. When you're speaking words, remember the power of life and death are in the tongue. When you speak words to people, what are you speaking? Life or are you speaking death? Are you speaking to the present or are you speaking to their potential? Are you speaking to the chaos or the crown? Are your words honoring or are they destructive? 1 Samuel 25:33, David says, blessed be your wisdom and blessed be you. And he put down his sword. She saved him from needless bloodshed by her actions, by her quick thinking, and by her honorable words. Well, how do we speak like Abigail? Ask this question. If you're taking notes, write it down. Ask this question. Are my words gas or are my words water? Because every situation is a fire, and you either pour gas on it or you extinguish it. You either inflame or you extinguish with your words. And so when you are tempted to use gasoline words, these are words like, you always do this. You never do that. I don't know about you, but when I hear those words, you always, it absolutely deflates me because that means I've never done anything good. Or when you never, it's so final. Those words are like gasoline on fire. They inflame. Or what about this? Forget it, I'll do it myself. You ever said that just out of anger? There's so many words that are like gasoline that we use. And the sad part is sometimes we know exactly which words will inflame the most. And we use those words. We know what the trigger points are. And we use those words intentionally. But then there's water words. Water words like, help me understand. Words like, I was wrong, please forgive me. Or let's fix this situation together. Those are words that are water. And they help extinguish the flame. Abigail, she could have inflamed or she could have extinguished, and she extinguished. We live in a world that likes to inflame. But the challenge today is carry around water and extinguish. Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for what? Building others up. Water words, words of honor, words of hope. Look at the horizon of their life. Words are like nitroglycerin. They either blow up bridges or they heal hearts. So true. Abigail also spoke to who they could be, not just who they are. At that moment, she wasn't speaking to David as a murderer, which is what he was about to become. She was speaking to him as a king, as someone that is called by God. Someone in whom, if he did this horrible act, would have to live with it for the rest of his life. That's who she spoke to, and she called out his better side, the side that God has called him to. That's who she called him to. When you run into people in your worship team, you guys can come on up. When you run into people in your lives, who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to the person that is currently making you mad and angering you? Or are you speaking to who they could be? You bringing hope into their life? You know, sometimes people hurt people hurt people. And sometimes the reason that people react with angry words is because they too have been hurt. Jesus received some pretty angry words on the cross. And he could have certainly inflamed, but he didn't. He extinguished. And that's our task too. We need to be able to speak to our kids' future, not to what their current failure is. Our kids need that. Our spouses need that. This church needs that. Our communities need that. Speak to people's calling, not their chaos. And then lastly, sometimes what's most important and most powerful are the words that we don't say. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says that there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. There's a time to just close your mouth and not say anything, to just shut the laptop and walk away, to just turn off your phone and set it down. There's a time when being quiet and still and silent is more important than what you say. This last week, I sat in a room with some people who had went through unimaginable horror. Think of the worst thing that could happen to your family, and it happened in this room that I was in this week. And I was supposed to debrief these people from all these traumatic things that have gone on in their community. And you know what? I said very little. And I just let them speak. Smartest thing I'd done was just kept my mouth shut and let them talk. And as they began to talk and weep and laugh and embrace one another, there was healing. When you go through a major trauma, sometimes you have to share that trauma 7 times before healing even begins to start. Sometimes we just need to be still, be quiet, not just when someone's attacking us but just when someone's hurting. Let them speak, let them listen. Just listen to them, let them tell their story, let them share their trauma. Be a good listener. Proverbs 26:4. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. I know we live in a world where it's tempted to just tit for tat. But God calls us to something different. Remember, nitroglycerin either blows up bridges or it builds up hearts. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just walk away, not respond in haste. Just bow your heads for a minute. I believe somebody in your life today is one apology away from healing. Somebody in your life today is just one, you can do this, away from getting back up off the ground. Someone in your life is just one encouragement away from hope. Someone in your life is just one invitation away from belonging. And what if we all spoke life into people? Imagine our homes, our church, our friendships, our marriages, our parenting. What if our mouth became a microphone for heaven instead of an amplifier for hurt? What if our conversation became construction? What if our sentences became shelter? This morning, church, let us resolve to speak like people who understand that the very breath in our lungs came from a God who created the world with words and has now handed each of us a microphone. Father, may our words this week be words of life, not death. Words that build up, not tear down. May we be known as followers of Jesus. May we be known for a different way. God, take us out into the streets, take us into our homes, take us into our communities, and help us breathe life through the words that we say. In the powerful name of Jesus. And everyone said, Amen. Amen.